Hello everyone and welcome to section 4.5, our unit about permanent records and logbooks. I want to go through this with you real quick. So here's the deal. Whenever you sell an aircraft, you have to have all the appropriate records. Doing that is super important. If you don't, you could lose, consensus says, between 10 to 50% of the aircraft's value. Again, super important to get this right. But that being said, let's talk about it. So permanent records are retained by the owner and operator, so they keep them, but the person who maintains the records and updates them are the maintenance personnel. An important distinction right there. Make sure you keep a note of that. There are essentially 16 types of permanent records, and they're outlined in 14 CFR 91.417. You have total hours in service. You have status of life limited parts. You have time since the last overhaul of life limited parts. You have inspection status and time since the last inspection. Status of all applicable airworthiness directives. We'll get into that in just a moment. And copies of FAA Form 337 for each current, sorry, I wrote that wrong, for each major repair or alteration. All of these permanent records are kept in logbooks, and this seems like a bit of information overload. Let's get some visual on this, so that way you can get a better idea of what one of these logbooks actually look like.
Now, for any additional information you need, you can always scan it in with a scanner like this. You'll get a PDF, and from the PDFs you can store them electronically.
So here's what it all looks like in practice. We have a cover sheet so we know what airplane it goes to. Then we have our airworthy directives, which we haven't done the new ones yet, but here are the historic ones all bound together. When we add the new ones, we will write superseded across all of these after we verified all this information is correct and matches the logbooks. We have a weight and balance report and an equipment list to be printed out. We have our 337s and also our supplemental type certificates. These are amendments to the normal airplane. So you start with a normal airplane and then you modify it either via these, and that gets the airplane that you're going to inspect. And then here are your aircraft inspection records along with continued airworthiness instructions and special inspection instructions. And then general service information you really want to carry. Like we have the airworthy certificate, a copy in the log, registration, type certificates for the aircraft, the engine, and propeller. We have the ADs forward, additional service information about the appliances, and anything else that we might find that we ever need. And then we just start adding them all up. Now in these we have receipts and battery information. We haven't finished organizing all of this yet, but we're working on it, including receipts from other suppliers. Now, in the front of the book, use these 3-ring binders because you can put a lot of information in here. But we have I'll just take them out. We have the current engine logbook, propeller, engine, and then we have a bag which is equipment manuals and all for the air that are in the airplane that you can reference. And then we also have a bag back here. Get the Velcro loose again. We have a bag of old logbooks, the original logbooks that came from the factory. So you can put a lot of information. We're going to bind up all the receipts and all back here, but we're going to take all this information and it goes to the new.
Okay, so what I really like about this video and what it shows is that it shows visually everything I just discussed. Think about it. This logbook discussed, there's examples of the ADs in there. We're going to talk about ADs later. It talked about inspections. It talked about FAA Forms 337. There were hours of service information. So all the stuff that's on this list over here, you just saw visually in that video. So that's what you can expect in the records that you have to sell with your airplane that are retained by the owner-operator and maintained by maintenance personnel. I've got a couple quiz questions for you. Why don't you go ahead, pause the video, get them done. Thanks for getting that done. Let's move along. So AD compliance. So AD compliance, and let me move me over here so you can get a better look at this. Since ADs are part of the permanent records, they are also kept in the logbook and they are transferred with the records when aircraft are sold. Just like I said in the last slide, I'm just re-emphasizing that point. Records of ADs have to include the following information. It has to include current AD status, whether it's current or it's superseded, method of compliance, AD numbers and revision dates, and recurring ADs. So if you have an AD that requires you to do inspection on a certain part and it has to be done quarterly, for example, you write that you've maintained compliance with the AD, and then you write down the next date you have to redo that inspection. AD compliance does need to be checked with every major inspection, so 100-hour, annual, and progressive, at least as far as 14 CFR 91 outlines. So let me show you a video of what this looks like in practice.
Keeping track of airworthiness directives is a little more complicated. Because ADs can be related to the airframe, the engine, or any appliance, and they can be either one-time or recurring, they're usually tracked in a separate log. Ours looks like this. I would recommend taking a glance through this to see which ADs apply to your aircraft and how the mechanic documented compliance.
Yeah, so again, great example here of an AD compliance record. Make sure that you have everything up to date, you write down your methods of compliance, and all that's good to go. I have a couple quiz questions for you. Go ahead, let's knock them out. Thanks for getting that done. Let's move ahead. So, for this part of the presentation, I'm going to make reference to 14 CFR Part 43, and then we have 43.9 and 43.11. So feel free to scan this QR code. Oh, excuse me. A little bit of a distinction here. I'm going to start with 4311. 4311 covers the inspection entries, whereas 43.9 covers repair entries. What I want you to notice here, and what I want you to prepare yourself for, is what are the similarities and what are the differences. So again, if you want to take out your cell phone and scan that, feel free to be my guest. Otherwise, just open up another tab and look up the CFRs yourself. Okay. Sorry, give me just a second here. Okay, so this right here is 14 CFR 43. Let me get me out of the way here so we can have a better look at this. And let's start with 43.11 first. So a couple key things you should know about 14 CFR 43.11. First thing that we should mention here, and this is important for you to know for the FAA exam here, is who is responsible for making a log entry. Well, if you look at Part A of 4311 over here, it says, the person approving, disapproving, return the service, and blah, 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 shall make an entry in the maintenance record of the equipment. So again, anyone doing maintenance has to make a maintenance entry. That's essentially what that means. And what does that have to include? What does that information have to include? It includes the type of inspection and a brief description of the extent of the inspection. It includes the date of inspection and total time in service. It's also got to include signature and certificate number, and whether the person is approving or disapproving the return to service of an aircraft. If you're approving return to service, you have to utilize this phrase right here. I certify that this aircraft has been inspected according to what other kind of inspection and was determined to be in airworthy condition. There's some information here about progressive inspections where essentially you have to put in a similar statement, but it's slightly worded. And then, yeah, so that's basically what we have. That's what you have to include. And then if you find that during an inspection your aircraft is unairworthy, what you need to be able to do is show that it is unairworthy and write a list of discrepancies and notify the owner. So let me show you in practice what this looks like. I have an example right here. Sorry, let me just pull that up real quick, make sure I have the right document here. Okay. So this is a sample of a 100-hour inspection write-up that is in accordance to 14 CFR Part 43. And as you can see, I have the date, I have the total time of the service listed here, I have signatures and A&P numbers listed right here. We mentioned what type of inspection it is. It's a 100-hour inspection. We also mentioned here that it is not considered airworthy. There's a list of discrepancies, and that on September 27th, 2023, we wrote a letter to the owner certifying the things that are out of compliance. And this right here is a letter that's showing things that are out of compliance. So we notify the customer. We completed the 100-hour inspection, and then we listed a couple of unairworthy things, and that once these things are remedied, we can consider it airworthy otherwise. And then again, we include our signatures. So that is a great example of what you can expect, what 14 CFR Part 43.11 highlights. Whenever an inspection takes place, you got to make sure that you have key and very important things to it. So again, like before, I'm going to toss you a couple of quiz questions. Go ahead. Let's get those done. Thank you for getting those done. Now, let's move ahead. I'm going to bring you up to 14 CFR 43.9. 43.11 covers information about records for inspections. This covers information about records for repairs. So, again, very similar wording to 43.11. Again, anyone who performs maintenance of any kind on an aircraft has to make an entry in the maintenance record. Now, something worthy of mention here is that the format in which you enter it in doesn't matter as long as it includes the following data. And again, you'll find that this data is very similar to 43.11. Again, there's got to be a description, there's got to be a date of completion, there's got to be the name of the person performing the work, there's got to be signatures, certificate numbers. The only difference that you're going to find between an inspection maintenance record, an inspection logbook record, and a maintenance logbook record, the only difference you find between those is that inspection logbook records also include the time of service for the thing recorded. So again, you can see that in this sample right here, we have total time 2350 hours listed on this letter, and we also have it listed here in this inspection write-up. Inspection write-ups require total time, whereas maintenance write-ups, at least according to 14 CFR 43.9, doesn't require time of service. Another thing worthy of mention is that if you see the word preventative maintenance here, that's written there on purpose. When you're doing maintenance, it's not like you only have to record major repairs and alterations here. You also have to do the minor ones as well. And the word preventative maintenance covers minor repairs and alterations. So major and minor, it's all covered. So I have a number of quiz questions for you. Why don't you go ahead and knock them out. Thank you for getting those done. It's been great working with you. We'll see you in the next video.